Being
Yeah,
kind and gentle with yourself is absolutely crucial because the
this this concept of just be able to be. I think it sounds easy, but it's so hard.
is it?
Yep, for me now I'm much better, but at the beginning, just being was like so uncomfortable.
Okay, so when you learnt to drive a car, for instance, when you got in the car for the first time, did you feel uncomfortable about learning to drive? Because you
Yes, of course.
okay, so it was new. It was new. It's not on, it's new. So there's a little bit of discomfort in anything new because it's different. But in actual fact, you got in the car, you learnt to drive with the instructor, you passed your test, and then you practiced driving and you ended up being able to drive to the coast.
Hello, everybody. It's Mel Cherrygate from Whoever You Are podcast, and I'm here with another guest. Her name is Sonia Grims. She has this amazing Instagram account. She helps, I think, especially women to deal with I think is deal with the what comes before addiction in anything or any behavior that is not good for ourselves or are holding us back. It's like the why we're doing that. And I agree with her that the reason we are drinking that is the problem. It's what we have to look. It's not just the substance or whatever you're addicted on. So, hello Sonia, how are you?
I'm good, Mel. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
And so, talk a little about how you started this journey of like coaching and helping, and how it all started.
Okay, so I'm 62 and I would have labeled myself an alcoholic for 29 years, and throughout 16 years of that, I was a single parent and only parent to my son Christopher, and I was drinking between a bottle of wine and half a bottle of vodka a day. Probably not every day, but there was never ever a week where I wasn't drinking. Never. That just never happened. I was never able to do dry January, sober October. And every morning I would wake up just full of guilt and shame and what the F have you done again and what's wrong with you. And I would make the decision not to drink, and I would mean it, even though I'd made the decision 100 times before. And as the day would wear on, that decision would weaken and the battle would start and I'd end up drinking again. 10 years ago I stopped drinking completely, and it was easy. And it was easy, and I can explain why. 5 years into that, I had a drink with I was on holiday with my brother and my niece, and I was bought an alcoholic drink, which I thought was non-alcoholic. Took a large gulp of that, and I was devastated. I thought, that's it, it's all over. I'm back at square one. There'll be that mind battle. I was devastated. I cried the minute I had that alcohol hit me. And then I woke up the next morning and nothing had changed. I was exactly the same as I had been 10 minutes before that had that drink. There was no mind battle, there was no craving, there was no desire, there was nothing. And that's when I really understood what had been driving my drinking. And I held the belief that alcohol offered me something. I called it a 3 hours relief, relaxation, reward. And that belief was driving the drinking in the past. I no longer had that belief, so I no longer had any pull towards alcohol, no mind battle. I wrote a book for my son to explain how on earth his
Oh,
childhood.
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's an apology. It's called This Isn't Me.
Okay.
And I wrote that book, and it was just for Christopher to help him understand that he was always the most important person, everything in my life. He was then, he is now. But of course, he can't have felt like it because he had a drunk mum. And when I wrote that book, it's just started to sell, and I was a bit like, oh shit. It was quite it's a very honest book. And from that, people started to come to me and say, can you do for me what you did for you? And that's what I do now. So I now have a 3-week program, Take Back Control of Alcohol. I absolutely accept that alcoholism is a dreadful disease. I absolutely accept that it is 100% there. I'd be mad to suggest otherwise. However, I believe there is a huge spectrum of problem drinking.
Yeah,
And very few of it are actually alcoholics, but everybody who is trapped holds that belief that alcohol offers them something. they didn't hold that belief, they wouldn't feel pulled towards it. Alcohol
Yeah,
has
of
no
course.
voice in your head. It doesn't pull you. It's the belief is activated when we are stressed, when we are anxious, when we are talking negatively about ourselves, and we drink to relieve ourselves, feel worse, and need relief again the next day.
Yeah, I know that I drink because I couldn't sit with myself. Like for 5 minutes, I was always so uncomfortable inside of myself, especially in the last years, because I've drank my whole life, but it was manageable. You know, I drank a lot, but it was okay. I could do life. I had a daughter, got married, I got my career, but then it really went down very bad 6 years ago because I think my body got addicted to the substance, and then I couldn't stop. And so that's why I don't drink at all, because I really, really got bad. And I am an alcoholic, I know I am. And a very, very hardcore one. You know, it's not just about some drinks, it's really, really bad. But I do understand that you're saying that it is anyway, even if I'm like alcoholic like I am, or if you're just drinking a little too much, or you're addicted to something else that is this I don't know if it's like your some kind of anxiety or emptiness, or it's something that you need something from outside, right?
It's isn't it sad, Mel, that as women and mothers we can't feel comfortable with ourselves. We can't sit with who we are because we didn't come into the world that way. We came into the world expecting to give and receive love like our kids did. Unfortunately, we were given to people who also came into the world that way and learned from people who also came, and we have hurts that nobody meant them, but they created within us an uncomfortableness, a discomfort about who we are when we are supposed to love ourselves more than anyone else on the earth. And we don't know what to do with that discomfort. We don't understand what's going on, and that's why it's so easy to slip into any behavior
Yeah.
that has the intention of easing that discomfort, because there's two sides to our drinking. There's the intention of comfort and the result of despair and guilt and shame, but the
Yeah.
intention is always to make us feel better when we're supposed to
Yeah.
do it to
And
ourselves.
I do, yeah, I like what you said about women having this role that we are raised to don't feel comfortable, to always be searching for something that it's not there. It's like we are not complete.
Well,
We
it's the
always,
same for men. It is the same for men. There's no
yeah, it
difference.
is the same for men.
It's just, yeah,
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 and I think this this weight we put on ourselves,
yes.
it makes life unlivable because it's too heavy, right?
And the fact is, we can cope with anything because we're designed to cope with everything. What we can't cope with is how we feel about ourselves when we drink, and we drink because we can't cope with how we feel about ourselves. Ultimately,
Yeah,
we don't drink because of what's happening in the outside world. We might think we do, but we drink because of how we are able or unable to cope with it, how we interpret it, how we perceive it.
yeah. I I I I, I like since I was a child, I always felt a little uncomfortable because I was more like a child that wanted to read or stay in my room. I was not very outgoing. And the funny thing is that when I got to like 20 years old and started partying, and then I suddenly was so extrovert. I would talk to everybody, and but now thinking about it was because I was drinking and using drugs, and I don't remember going out and having fun without it.
And that's how
Right.
you learn to believe it offered you something, because you went from being this person that didn't feel you fit in and didn't feel comfortable in your own skin. You had the experience of drinking, you had the evidence that it helped you, that it built you up, that made you feel more comfortable, more fun, more gorgeous, more sexy, whatever. And that's how the belief was built, because you
Yeah.
had the experience of feeling better when you drank, except that is a very outdated belief, because it's turned into something that you feel you need, although you accept where you are and you are doing all the things with your art to feel comfortable in yourself. But in the absence of doing anything to protect yourself, to understand the belief and to release it, you're left with nothing but alcohol or food or
Yeah.
drugs.
Yeah. You need the outside, uh, like pleasure or
If you can't
I
create it
don't.
yourself, you're
Yeah.
supposed to be able to do it for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. One of my biggest issue to staying sober was that life kind of felt boring, and it was so related for me, alcohol and drugs, with having fun,
Yeah,
that it was
absolutely.
almost like one can only exist with the other one.
Yep.
You know, I
Yes.
can't have fun just by myself, and so I had to rewire my brain with a lot of therapy and a lot of coaching, everything, and to change that belief, to
And the fact
do.
is, what we consider fun when we're drinking is so heightened. It's not, so we're designed to live in balance. It's so heightened that without
Mhm.
it, we kind of crash. So we're out of balance. We're like, oh, this is amazing, this is amazing.
And
And then we
then
keep drinking. And then you crash and you're out of balance again.
and then you have to drink just to stay normal.
Yep.
That's what happened to me, and that's why I believe I became an alcoholic, because then I couldn't, I needed the alcohol just to be normal,
You lose
and
your equilibrium.
yeah, and it's so dangerous because I was lucky because I didn't end up with big consequences. I mean, in like losing my family, being debt, or have some problem physically. So thanks God, I am blessed that I don't have this. I was able, even if I caused a lot of suffering for my family, I was I could still save it, right? And now they are proud of me and everything. And but I do sometimes feel a little uh, anxious or a little like, oh my God, now I have all this responsibility on me that I need to stay sober. And then I started to put a lot of pressure in me that I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to be better at this because now I'm sober. And I do believe that it's too much. You need to go like little by little. If you put
You,
too much in your plate,
you,
uh,
yeah.
it's more actually it makes you more vulnerable to relapse or to come back.
We're not supposed to live with a mountain on our plate. We're not machines. We need rest. We need nourishment. We need connection. We need space.
Hmm.
So the very
Yeah.
fact that someone is become sober, which of course is fantastic, you don't need to fill the void with stuff. You just
Hmm.
need to allow yourself to be. And being
Yeah.
kind
This
and gentle with yourself is absolutely crucial, because
this
yeah,
yeah, this concept of just be able to be, I think it sounds easy, but it's so hard.
is it?
Uh, yeah, for me, now I'm much better, but at the beginning, just being was like so uncomfortable.
Okay, so when you learnt to drive a car, for instance, when you got in the car for the first time, did you feel uncomfortable about learning to drive? Because you
Yes,
didn't.
of course.
Okay, so it was new. It was new. It's new, so there's a little bit of discomfort in anything new because it's different. But in actual fact, you got in the car, you learned to drive with the instructor, you passed your test, and then you practiced driving, and you ended up being able to drive to the coast. It's exactly the same thing. We're designed to be who we are. We're just not used to it. So it's not hard, it's new. And it's about allowing ourselves to just fill the space that's ours. We have this space. And particularly as women, we feel we've got to fill it with everybody that needs help.